Well, I'm back from Aquashella. I met some people, I saw some things, and I gave my first talk. Let's go. What's up, coral people? If you're new here, my name is Remy, and this is the Bahama Llama Coral YouTube channel. I post weekly videos, so if you want to tag along in my reefing adventures, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you know whenever I upload new videos. This is gonna be a little different video. It's gonna be a lot longer because I'm including my talk that I gave at Aquashella, so that'll be in just a little bit. But off the top, I wanna know, what is a convention that you are going to this year? Are you going to Aquashella? Are you going to Reefapalooza? Are you going to a local frag swap? Tell me in the comment section below. I don't wanna waste too much time up front, but I do wanna say thank you so much to George and Shawn and Fritz for having me out at Aquashella this year. It was an honor and it was so much fun. I had so many great talks with so many great people in the hobby. We're talking Mr. Saltwater Tank, Jake Adams, Scott Crow, Peter Cherrick from the Reef News Network, Steve from Top Shelf Aquatics. They actually had a VIP dinner on that Friday night before Aquashella at their farm, so I got a chance to see the Top Shelf Aquatics farm, and oh my gosh, if you ever get a chance to walk through their farm, if you're in Orlando, you gotta go. It's something different. They also fed us some amazing barbecue, so thank you so much for that. It was delicious. Got to meet the team behind Aquarium Info. They make amazing Facebook videos. They're great freshwater channel. I know she's got a saltwater tank as well, but it was fun talking cameras and talking YouTube and stuff with them. It was nice to hang out with Jay Wilson from Seachay, as well as meet Steve Berlin for the first time. Ted Judy from CustomAquariums.com, just some legends in the aquarium hobby, so it was really fun to see all these people in one place. Also, I have to say thank you to Tyler Inland_Reef, who we are going to get an update from here very soon on his macro algae tank, because that was a huge hit at Aquashella. He and I hung out a lot over the past week, and he actually helped me a lot with the video of this talk, so shout out to Tyler. Thank you so much. Also, thank you to my wife for coming out and supporting me. It was a lot of fun to have her there around everything that I love in the hobby, and then of course we got some time to spend at Disney World after Aquashella was over. So a great vacation, a little bit of time away from everything, so it was awesome. I will say this, Uno and Dos, both still living, both doing very well. I was excited to see that. Uno's getting so big. And if I left anybody out that we met or had a conversation, I'm so sorry. I feel like the weekend was kind of like a blur. Met so many people, did so many things, and maybe we'll get to hang out at the next event, which is Chicago. So Aquashella Chicago is coming up. I know there's a Wrap New York and there's a couple other ones in between there, but I know for sure that I'll be at Aquashella, speaking or not, in Chicago, just to be there, because now I'm streaking. You know, I've gone to the first two. I got to continue that streak. So just to preface this talk a little bit, the way that they laid out Aquashella Orlando was that they had everything on the showroom floor, including the two speaking areas. So there was a speaking area in the back for the main stage, and then there was a workshop speaking area. And I will say that competing with conversation on the showroom floor, so just ambient noise of people talking, and then there's music in the background that's also playing. It's light, you can't really hear it too bad, but as a speaker it's just interesting because usually you have a quiet room to speak in and you have everybody's attention, but there's a lot of different things that played a role in how this talk went. Now, I was rolling on this mic that I'm wearing right now, so you'll get decent audio through the whole thing, but there might be some times when I'm like raising my voice to try and like overcompensate for the music that's playing in the background and things like that, but I think you'll get the main point of what I'm trying to say. We'll get back to a normal video next week, but there's a lot of people that requested to see this, so for you, here it is, my talk. Let's go back to 11 a.m. on June 12th at Aquashella Orlando. If I had 4 more hours in a day, I could get everything done. Does anybody know who said that? That was me. This is an Omega Speedmaster. This is a early 19th. Any watch people here today? Anybody collect watch? What are you wearing right now? You don't know watch right now. How are you a watch person? You don't wear watches. That's true. He must be a Rolex guy. This is an early 1970s Omega Speedmaster Mark II, and it's a pretty special watch in a lot of ways, but in most ways it's just a piece of metal, right, with a bunch of other pieces of metal in it that tell you the time. Watches are pretty much obsolete right now, right? Like, you pull out your phone. What's the point of wearing a watch? It's story. Omega was the first watch company to time an entire Olympic Games. This was back in like the 1930s. And then they were the first watch on the moon. It's a pretty big deal. Years before that, Omega was the first watch company to go around orbit the Earth several times. So you can see the legacy of a brand and the story that a brand builds to make that heritage that they have. The price of a Speedmaster in 1970 was $225. After building a story, building a brand, the price of a Speedmaster today is $6,300. That's base. That's like rubber strap, no bells and whistles, $6,300, and that's the base. So you can go up from there. You can spend tens of thousands of dollars on these watches. You're probably wondering, like, we're at a Coral conference, why am I talking about watches? I'm really just talking about story. I could have started with this guy. You guys know this guy. This is Walt Disney. He pretty much owns this town, right? Is anybody going to Disney while they're here? Yeah, my wife and I will be going on Monday and Tuesday. Could have started with the story of this guy. Anybody know who this is? George, Coralfish 12G. I don't think he's in the room. He's probably running around here stressed. 12-year-old George taught me how to do my first water change on my reef tank. I went to my wife as a 30-year-old and I was like, I'm learning how to change the water on my reef tank from this kid right here. He grew up a little bit more of a smile here, and now he looks like he's a freaking explorer that just went up Mount Everest or something in this photo. But the reason we're all here today is partially because of this guy, right? Let's give a round of applause for George, yeah. And Shawn, and everybody at Fritz, and everybody that puts this on, because we're all here because of that. We followed his story. Story connects us all, which I think is like so cool, right? Time is boring. Time is super boring, but you fill it with stories and you fill it with moments, and it becomes more interesting. Hopefully you'll have a story here today. Here's my story. Anybody know where this is? Chicago, Shedd Aquarium. This is like one of the oldest tanks that Shedd Aquarium has. It's a Caribbean reef. I actually have a lost picture of myself standing on like this pane, like right here, as a 5-year-old, just like face pressed up against the glass. I see a lot of kids here today. These are huge moments for them. This is me. I just did something wrong, I'm sure. You can see in the background here my dad with a hatchet. I'm okay with whatever just happened, but I don't know if he is. I'm still here today, so he didn't use it, which is a good thing. This is where I went to elementary school, and the only reason why I'm bringing up kind of my schooling is because I had some pretty amazing science teachers growing up. Mr. Easton was my 3rd grade teacher, and he was kind of like a Bill Nye of sorts. Tons of demonstrations in class, tons of animals in the classroom. It was a pretty amazing teacher. Moved on to middle school. I was a python for a little bit. It was cool to be a snake. I'm more of a, I'm not a Slytherin, I'll say that. Well, I was for a little bit. And then this is not a prison, this is my high school. Some say it actually was designed after a prison or the prison blueprints. I don't know if that was just a joke, but it pretty close. I'll never forget my science teacher, my biology teacher in high school, who we walked into class one day and we saw a body laying on one of the lab tables with like a sheet pulled over. And as soon as everybody got into class and the bell rang, it was our teacher, she arose as Charles Darwin and taught our class as Charles Darwin that day. I thought it was like one of the coolest things and just a different take on how to teach people the rudimentary stuff that we all learn. And then I was going to college at Illinois State University here. It did not look like this when I went. This is all new. This is what tuition money looks like right here. I probably am this window right here. That's probably about $50,000 right there. Went to college wanting to be a secondary education biology teacher. And sat down with my counselor, and there was so much math prerequisite that I got into radio. I said, I'm not doing math, I'll go into radio. So here's me at the college run radio station, still not really knowing what I'm talking about. Just like, I don't know. I was breaking in the new digital board we just got, which was pretty cool. So radio, if you don't know, is my first career. I am on a morning show in St. Louis, and we'll get to that, but radio's kind of taken me all over. My first station was 101.5 WB&Q, it's Central Illinois, really small station. Moved up to 93.7 The Bull in St. Louis. And then we got the opportunity to move to Chicago and start a country station there. So we did mornings there for a little bit. And if you're in radio, someone will come along and say, if you haven't made it in radio unless you've been fired. So I've made it in radio. I got fired from Big 95.5, and now I'm at 92.3 WIL in St. Louis. They let go like the entire station. I don't even think the station exists anymore in Chicago. I think it's a rock station now. But radio has afforded me to do some pretty cool things. And I've been able to go to some pretty cool places and meet some pretty cool people. I was just talking to my wife on the way here, and I was like, the last time I was in a plane, it was a Blue Angel. 2019, I got the opportunity to fly with the Blue Angels. They give these media rides out, and so this is the takeoff. We tried to get audio hooked up, and it's not, but basically the pilot is super calm, and I'm super excited. And so we're at Chesterfield Airport, and this is a suburb out of St. Louis. And this is the takeoff, and they always do this. I don't know if you're familiar with the Blue Angels at all, but when you first get into the air, you just go straight up. They just pull back on the stick, and they say, ready, hit it, and you just go straight into the air. This maneuver is probably the most exhilarating maneuver that you will ever feel in your life. That's 6.5 G's, which means that you have 6.5 times the force on your body. So you're like 6.5 times heavier than you normally are. We pulled 7.4 G's 2 times in that flight. I did not pass out. I did not vomit. I got really close to passing out. It's the weirdest feeling in the world because your vision goes, you get the tunnel vision, and it almost is lights out, and then he lets off, and it all comes back. It's like the craziest thing. It's the craziest feeling. I've met some pretty cool people. This is Brett Eldridge. If you're familiar with country, you probably know these people. Brett Eldridge, Blake Shelton, obviously you probably know him from The Voice, Maren Morris. I sang Phantom of the Opera with Cassidy Pope on stage. I don't know. I also sang Little Mermaid with Kelsey Ballerini on stage. And then this is Joey Mullen. That's all. I met him at Aquashella, Chicago. And it's funny because I only posted this because all of these people, no problem talking to. No problem at all. We can have a conversation. Country music artists are like the most down-to-earth people you've ever met in your life. I pulled up to Joey and was like, I build your stands, picture? Unbelievable. So if I see him here, I'm gonna have to redeem myself on that one. So how did I get into fish? How did I get into this whole thing? I blame the county fair. And I also said that. Who's played this game? Yeah? This is the most deluxe goldfish thing I've ever seen in my life. Not only can you win a 2-cent feeder goldfish, but you can also, that they're gonna babysit your fish, that you can buy an $8 terrarium. They got tetraline fish food up here, everything. This is actually not, I like this better than just giving someone goldfish and saying, figure it out. Because when I was a kid and we went home and we tried to figure it out, we put these goldfish in cereal bowls. No idea. Google wasn't a thing. You kind of had an idea that they would be stressed out. You know what I mean? The stress coat was a big thing back then. But this, I think, is what triggered everything for me. You could win a live fish at the county fair. And that's really where it started. Also, parents in the crowd, don't play this game with your kids. Get your goldfish from like a sustainable source, because nobody should be doing this, in my personal opinion. This is not a error here. I could not find any photos of my childhood room growing up. So like from middle school to like sophomore year of high school, had an entire zoo in my bedroom. I had cockatiels, parakeets, leopard geckos. I had 2 or 3 freshwater tanks and a saltwater fish only tank. It was basically Noah's Ark in my bedroom. So having girls over or whatever, having friends over, is always weird, super weird. You always get the flow of water going or some bird chirping in the background. It was always super weird. But I couldn't find any photos of this, which is unfortunate because it was packed with tanks, which is very similar to how my room is now in the basement. Things haven't changed much. So we moved to Chicago, like I said, with the radio station. This is my like first foyer back into the hobby, really. Anybody know Tank It Easy? They're out of Chicago. If you go to Aquashella Chicago, they always have a booth set up. They're awesome dudes. But this was a fish-only system that they set up in my house. And it very quickly escalated into coral. This is my dog face puffer. Those things, does anybody have a puffer fish? Personality, like crazy. Those things are awesome. This is my Fluval Evo 13.5. I was talking to somebody else who has this tank. You have this tank? Yeah. Can somebody tell me what this is? What this aquascaping choice is right here? What is that? It's very phallic. Not sure what's going on there. The grumpy fish, the pseudochromis that was in there. 2019, I decided I was going to take this YouTube thing and just run with it. So now the YouTube channel's hopping. You guys are all here probably because of the YouTube channel, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your support. I'm just in this to learn along with you guys. I figured if I'm going to learn, you can learn with me and we can go on this journey together. So we got to learn the hard way sometimes. This is story number 1. Is Jake Adams here? Okay, because I'm going to quote him right now. Your orange Lobo is likely an acan. So when you get into the hobby, a lot of people will tell you, you can put corals next to each other that are the same, like torches with torches and hammers with hammers and all this. So I bought these 2 Lobos, very similar, put them next to each other, was like, okay, we'll see what happens here. Yep. It's hard to tell who's trying to eat who here, but the orange guy is definitely stinging the Lobo. And it turns out, if I'm not mistaken, that this is actually the Acanthastria pachycepta. So there's a lot of times when in this hobby you go pick up something from the local fish store. They don't know what it is. You just think it looks cool. Don't do your research. Put them next to each other and then this happens. I don't really have much more to say about the orange one because the orange guy ended up melting at some point. But the Lobo, on the other hand, started to come back. So I've been documenting this. You can see the skeleton here after the event. And then a couple months later, you see this like new growth. And this is present day. Totally back. Which I think is so cool. And I think it's a good reminder to know that your coral is also trying to live. Your coral is not trying to die. So if you give it good parameters, feed it, make sure that it's got good lighting, all of those things, it'll come back. It will come back. Don't give up. Story number 2, stepping out of the comfort zone. This is a beautiful baby scully. There's a guy in Chicago named Ryan Cunningham. He owns Chummingham's Reef and he has some of the coolest, brightest, fullest pieces I've ever seen. But he started to frag these. He started to frag scolies, which I didn't think was a thing. I was like, you can't frag a scolie. Obviously, there's probably things that happen in the ocean where a large rock comes down, lands on a scolie, slices it in half during a hurricane or whatever, and it has to survive, like we just talked about. But it doesn't happen in the hobby, and I'll tell you why it doesn't happen in the hobby very much in a little bit, but I tried it. So this is actually a piece that I bought from him in Chicago. And this is an example of what it looks like for baby scolies, and this is a freshly cut one right here, super tiny. We're talking 1-inch frag plug. Maybe these are half-inch frags, and this is my attempt here. Went to the local fish store because I don't own a saw, and they let me use theirs, and this is me fragging that scolie in half. Well, thankfully it came out, 2 viable pieces. I own one. Moki, the inappropriate reefer on YouTube, owns the other side, and I'm thinking about doing it again. But there's a couple of reasons why this doesn't really happen in the hobby, and why you're not going to go out on the showroom floor today and see a whole bunch of scolie frags. This is me consulting with Ryan. So this is Ryan Cunningham. I always like to do this on the channel, bring in an expert, make sure that I can not only learn for myself, but also have you learn as well. There's a couple reasons why. They grow super slow. They are the slowest growers ever. So if we go back real quick, it's not much bigger than this now, and I did this over a year ago. Scolies take forever to grow. So if you think about that from like a Top Shelf Aquatics or a Worldwide Coral standpoint, they're not going to be fragging a bunch of scolies in the back because they take forever to get to a size that is sellable, right? But it's a fun story. And it's something that I like to do. My mission is to empower reefing hobbyists to step outside their comfort zone and try new things. So I hope that you get that when you watch the channel. I hope that, you know, when we're doing new things and whatnot, that you feel that I'm just trying to kind of expand not only my horizons, but also yours as well. And maybe you go into an offshoot that, you know, is more fun than just a mixed reef in your house. So we come full circle to the clownfish saga that I'm currently in. This is Zach and Kelly. I'm a huge Saved by the Bell fan. Kelly's put on some weight a little bit because she's carrying eggs all the time. It was about 6 months ago I noticed that my clownfish were like laying eggs on plugs, and I really wasn't sure what to, like, I thought it was sponge. And so I pulled it out of the tank. Clownfish are going crazy. Give us our eggs back. So I was like, well, if they're spawning, I'm going to try another offshoot. Let's go. Let's try this out. Well, clownfish breeding is a little bit more challenging than it seems, right? You can't just like let them go in the tank, because clownfish will eat their babies. They have no care in the world. They will not raise them. They will eat them as soon as they hatch. Here's a bunch of clownfish babies, or eggs. This is day 8 or 9, I'm not sure which one, but you can really see that shimmer in their eyes. That means they're about ready to hatch. So I bought all the stuff. Reef Nutrition. I don't know if they're here, but Reef Nutrition makes some pretty amazing products for clownfish breeding if you ever want to try it. They actually have clownfish bundles that you can buy. So this is me culturing rotifers. Got the rotifers in the bucket here. This is what they look like in a sieve. And then this is what they look like when they're free floating in water. The most mesmerizing thing in the world. This isn't like a clear glass bowl. This is. I put a light underneath it, and it's just like life at the smallest form. You know what I mean? It's just like the coolest bottom of the food chain. I did that. I'm growing that. It's pretty awesome. It felt cool the first time, and now it just, you know, it smells like algae in my basement all the time, because that's what they eat. So I don't know if you can see this, but those are Clownfish Babies. This was the first successful hatch that I had. You can see him kind of running around in there. And out of the 50 to 60 fry that hatched in this one survived. cutest little thing in the world. Guys, his name is Uno, because he's the only one. And you can kind of see that second stripe coming in. Really, really cool fish. I thought it was, you know, a lot of people would say that's a failure, right? You have 50 fry, and then you have one that survives. That's a failure. I totally think that's success. That's a start. I didn't think I was going to get anything on the first try, so I'll take it. So coming back to time, I kind of alluded in the beginning that this watch meant something to me. This watch in particular, so when my grandparents passed away, the aunts and uncles were like, you can go through, we had an estate sale, and they were like, you can go through, and if there's anything that means anything to you from grandma or grandpa, go ahead and take it. There was this owl bell that hung in the kitchen of my grandparents' house, and I wanted that. And then 17-year-old me was like, what can I put on eBay to make money? Because I was an insensitive 17-year-old, right? So I found this. So this is the Omega Speedmaster. The one that I had, though, the one that my grandfather had, beat to crap, could not see through the crystal, could not see any of the numbers, was not functioning, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna sell this. But it actually had the hang tag on it that said $225, so I was like, I'll get $50 for this on eBay. In the final seconds of that eBay auction, this watch got $700, and I was like, what am I doing here? You know, it was pretty fun to make $700 as a 17-year-old, but at the same time, you're like, what did I just give up? Okay, so I'm on the hunt for this watch, and that's what makes this whole thing mean so much. It's not just a piece of metal anymore, it's a story. And I think that that's what our coral is to us. If coral could talk, what would it tell you? Its journey from wherever it's from, Indonesia, Australia. So I invite you to go out on the showroom floor today, and as the inaugural Aquashella speaker, I invite you to go create some stories this weekend and go pick out some stuff that means something to you, that could mean something to you. And maybe the story just starts with, I got this piece at Aquashella Orlando. So go create a story today. So I have a giveaway. As many of you know, this is the pseudo weeping willow toadstool. And I'm not sure if anybody is sitting in the proper seat, but I attached a Bahama Llama sticker to the underneath of one of your seats. So please go ahead and check at this point. Is it you? Is it a friend? Is it an empty seat next to you? Is it in the row behind you? The search is on. Where is it at? We have a winner. What's your name? Come on up. Oh, we met earlier. Come here. What's your name again?
Trey.
Trey. Give it up for Trey. Get that weeping willow. Thank you guys for coming out. Really, really appreciate it. And we'll do some pictures over by that wall if you want a picture. I've got some stickers and keychains too, a very limited amount. So hop on over there and we'll take some pictures. Thank you guys so much. I had probably 75-ish people in the audience, which is way more than I expected. I thought I was going to have like 10 or 15, to be honest. Being the first speaker of the show, it being at the early bird time, so it wasn't even at general admission time. I was fighting against a lot of different variables there, but people showed up, had a great time, and I got a chance to give away a weeping willow frag, and the person that won was an 11-year-old. His name is Trey, whose parents actually gave him Aquashella tickets for Christmas. So he was super stoked, and I'm happy to send that frag to him and watch it grow up in his tank over time. So go start some new stories today. I started a bunch of new stories in Orlando while I was there, and I think that's gonna mean some big changes behind me. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you know whenever I upload new videos. I did get a chance to talk with Scott Crow, like a lot. We hung out for basically the entire show. Scott Crow, Peter Cherrick, Tyler and I, we were kind of like you know, hanging out on the showroom floor as much as possible, just talking reefs. And we might actually be taking a trip to see him in September for his birthday, to get a tour of all his facilities, and, you know, just to hang out, because we've been talking about Scott Crow and OSA for, what, over a year now. So it'd be nice to actually go and hang with the crew. He was telling me stories about how people would come into the shop after seeing my videos and make him do the toasty thing. And I don't know if many of you know, I would imagine some of you who are gamers know where that originated from, but toasty is actually something that happens in the game Mortal Kombat. And I think it was like the original Mortal Kombat when it first started, like you'd uppercut somebody. One of the creators of the game would pop out of the corner of the screen and say, "Toasty!" The origin of the Mortal Kombat Toasty can be found from the link above. If you watched the entire talk, please, in the comments section below, reward yourself with 5 random emojis. Next time I do a talk, if I ever get asked to do a talk again, it's gonna be straight up Tony Robbins style. We're having lasers, we're having smoke, we're doing pyro, and we're hearing life-changing stories from the audience. Well, I wanna show you something real quick. Couple new things that arrived at our house. Meet Maggie and Luna. Maggie's over here, and Luna's over here. They're Black Lab German short hair pointer mixes, otherwise known as Pointadors. Okay, all right. You guys want to go back to sleep now? Okay. Sorry, they sleep a lot. I woke them up from a nap to do that. Now it's time to go play. I'm gonna end the video here, and we'll see you next week. Be safe, and I'll see you next week. Next week.